Alright, I'd like to teach you about the chop saw today. The chop saw is a very economical tool. You can buy these a lot less than you could the horizontal bandsaw or some of the other metal cutting machines. When we bought this, it was under $200. I'm not sure what the price is right now. And the actual name is chop saw. So, you hear people call like a miter box a chop saw a lot, and that's really not the proper name for it, but this really is. Right on the tag it says chop saw. This one has a guard that goes up and down, and the blade is basically the same type of blade you would see on an angle grinder for cutting. So it's almost like a cutting wheel, except for it's a little thicker. This one is about 1/8 of an inch thick, and the blade starts off really big, and then as you cut it shrinks. So this blade right now is down to about half its use, so it just keeps getting smaller and smaller. I think it's a 14-inch blade when it starts, or 12. I'm trying to read it, but it's wore out. So anyway, the blade starts off bigger, then as you're cutting it gets smaller, and then you have to replace the blade. The blades are fairly cheap though, usually around 10 bucks, so not very expensive on the blades. This adds quite a bit of heat to your metal when you're cutting, and it's not very accurate. So it's more accurate than using a cutting wheel on an angle grinder, but it's not as accurate as some of the other metal cutting tools. So it's kind of an interesting machine as far as that goes. It creates a ton of sparks, a lot of noise, and then a lot of smell. So it's not a very pleasant machine. In fact, we store it in the barn. We don't use it a whole lot. But it's nice to know that exists. Like if you wanted a good cutting metal machine for your home shop, this might not be too bad, because maybe you can wheel it outside and do a lot of your cutting outside, and then the noise wouldn't reverberate off the walls. You wouldn't have the sparks. They wouldn't be quite as big of a deal as long as you catch something on fire, and then it wouldn't be smelly either. So if I was to get one of these for home, I would probably use it outside as much as I can. The biggest thing with this machine is clamping the metal. Just like really any of the other metal cutting machines, is clamping the metal. So you're going to push your metal up against this back fence, and this back fence you can adjust to different angles. So we'll cut a couple different angles. Not very accurate at all. When you start cutting angles, the accuracy drops way down. One of the things that happens is this blade bends. The blade bends when you're cutting sometimes, especially in an angle, and as it bends, it doesn't cut straight. So when I'm just cutting straight off like this, it does a lot better, and the blade doesn't deflect quite as much. This one has a quick release feature, so it has like this little flip, and then you can push it in, and then you can tighten it. Then the release, you loosen this up, flip this back, and then pull this back. So it's kind of nice. It has this little feature here. It has to adjust the angle, you have to use a hex wrench. But for this one, you're just going to push this up, lock it in place, and then you're good to go. So I would not cut on a wood table. I'm just going to barely do this. I'd probably cut on a metal table, or you just don't want anything that's going to catch on fire, really. The wood table would probably be okay if there's not a lot of dust on it or wood particles. It'd probably be all right. But if you have a stack of sawdust on it, it's going to catch fire. Also shoots sparks behind it, a long ways behind it. It shoots some sparks kind of towards the operator, not too bad. And then sometimes it deflects sparks out. So there creates a lot of sparks, definitely compared to really almost any other machine you have, other than maybe the CNC plasma cutter. So a lot of sparks there. Basically, sometimes people tend to push too hard on this. They don't let it do the job. So you have to find the right feed rate. You're trying to push hard, but not so hard that it doesn't do the job. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else I can tell you about this. Like I said, it's a good affordable saw for your home shop if you're not looking for really accurate cuts. Not as good for a shop where you have a lot of people walking around. You don't want to be hit by sparks and things like that. So I'd probably put Well, it won't quite cut all the way through because the blade isn't big enough diameter. It's really close. Fairly quick, so it's quicker than, say, the cold saw, or probably it's about the same as a horizontal bandsaw. Maybe you could probably go just a little quicker depending on where you're going to cut. Probably a little bit better for thinner material. The thicker the material, it's going to be a little bit harder, but if you have some thin material, it's going to go through that a little faster. It'll be faster than the horizontal bandsaw if the material is thinner. So this is called the chop saw, and we kind of keep it out in the barn usually, but it's a good tool to learn about.